Hello everybody, I'm Yurineko, and once again I'm drawing Keisuke and his rx7 FD from Initial D. Now, I know you guys are wondering like, hey, I already done this illustration last year, and if you guys have been a long time followers of me, I've been doing this tradition for a really long time. The only reason why I'm doing this, because one, I have excuse of drawing cars and not feel guilty about it, and two, I like to see my progress of how much I have improved over the year, because like, I'm still not, like I love to draw cars, but I'm not like the best at it, and doing this, it really shows how much I have, like, all the work I've been doing, and I don't know, it's really nice to see the progress. So, in this speed paint this time, I actually do have a proper script. Because, in my past speed paints, I never really have a script other than like a really rough outline of what I want to say, and it does let me have a very relaxed energy when I'm doing my speed paints, but like it's a really annoying to edit because I'm gonna give you guys a real quick insight of what my like editing process is. So I would do 3 recordings of my voiceovers, and the first one, it never sounds great. Like I usually like cut off small chunks of it and use the second recording, because like sometimes I would ramble on about something, so I'm like, okay, yeah, a little bit too much information there, guru, and then like the second recording I usually explain it in a more better way, so I use that recording and kind of clip it. Like it's a little bit like a Frankenstein voiceover, and it's great and all, but I really hate editing that whole segment. So here's my little script for what I have to say about this illustration. So when I was painting this, I really wanted both Keisuke and FD to be the main focus, which means that they would like harmonize together. One is not outshining the other, because most of my paintings in the past, a lot of times the car is the focal point, which is great. I am thankful the car is the focal point for a lot of people who sees my color illustrations, because I take a lot of time in the detailing. So I'm very grateful you guys are focusing on that. But I do want the driver and the car to share the spotlight. One is not getting most of the attention, they're sharing one spotlight. So to kind of combat this, I try to position Keisuke's face near the headlights, because most of the time the headlights do act like the eyes of the illustration. You know, because it's, the headlights and stuff like that. It's the most shiny part of the whole picture. So I thought maybe to help the problem is to have Keisuke's face be right next to the shiniest object of the illustration, and maybe you would both look at the FD and while also looking at Keisuke. If I have to be like really honest with myself, maybe because I like looking at cars, my eyes still kind of draw to the FD. But hey, maybe for some people, maybe that plan has worked, but that was one of my main focus when I was thumbnailing for this illustration. I just wanted both subjects to share the spotlight, because in a lot of my color illustrations that I mentioned before is that, like, again, a lot of times the car gets most of the attention than the driver, and some part of me feel like that's kind of a failure on my part as the artist. And of course it is also up to the viewer, but I feel like if like one part of the artwork kind of fails to grab your attention, I just kind of feel like, ooh, that's something I should work on my skill set, right? Because last year rx7 illustration, I do feel like Keisuke kind of like disappears into the background. I do feel like he didn't really like like asks for like the attention of the viewer, and that's not really much of his character. His character is like someone who's a very flashy type character, you know. Like if he gets being pushed off the side, I failed him. I failed him. So I do really want to push like his placement in my illustration right next to like rx7, so like they can like share, so like they're kind of like, you know, in a way looking like they're partners, because you know they're like working together in this illustration time. And I do feel like this year I managed to successfully do that. Although yes, my favorite part of last year's illustration is like the contrast between the foreground and the background. That's also my favorite part, but because like I was so focused on the atmosphere, I totally forgot about Keisuke. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about this illustration. Again, I had so much fun painting this. It's just like I haven't had this much fun in so long. Like I enjoy art, I do enjoy a lot, but like there's like a lot of stuff that's been going on that is just, it kind of like sucked the fun for me. And like recently I just found my groove back again that I used to have in my early 20s, and it is such a great feeling. It feels like I'm back to my old self, and I'm just so happy. But yeah, like I really like this artwork. It's been so long since like I would like take a break from my illustration, and when I come back with like this excitement, like okay, I'm gonna work on this portion of the painting. And of course has been some frustrations. Like there's always will be frustration in every artwork I start, because like they always want to fight me. My art always wants to fight me, and I always like a challenge. I always like whenever an artwork fights me, because it just gives me more motivation to finish it, because I do want to see my artworks be finished, because I just want to finish them, and I do know they want me to finish them, so yeah. Okay, now I sound crazy, so I'm gonna end this video. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, so thanks for watching. Bye! Editing Guru Neko here, and remember in the beginning of the video I said I wrote a script that because I did not want to do a lot of retakes. Your boy had to do so many retakes that I'm freaking losing my goddamn mind. I tried so hard. I did countermeasures so I don't have to do any more retakes, but I had to take so many retakes. I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy. Crazy. do see Keisuke without the rx7 because you can't have the rx7 in a restaurant. I'm sorry, that's funny. Wait. But I'm sorry. Another example of me having to clip this voiceover because I just, it's just the mental image of like, you know, like, you know, like in the anime there's a scene of like the Red Suns like sitting at the family restaurant and then the fucking FD just rolls in like Harvey. I don't know why, that's like tickling me, that's really tickling me.